we have another question for you.
Our next questions are what skills and habits do you notice yourself having compared to peers who did not go to a Montessori school and specifically Lake Great River?
Elias, go for it.
I think being able to get essays done quickly is something that I have like really enjoyed the benefits of so far that I hear my peers in college a lot complaining about how they have a hard time writing quickly or getting their thoughts onto a page um fast, and I feel like I can do that super well because of the global politics IB exam and the English IB exam. That has helped me a lot, that I can just kind of make a rough draft in a few hours and go from there instead of having to toil away at something.
Absolutely. Nobody likes to toil. Lucas, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely agree with Elias, but I also think like with me doing IB, I don't know if our people share the sentiment, but like time scheduling and just stuff like that has been really easy for me because I feel like I already built those skills at Great River in like my last 2 years there. So yeah, I think that's just a really helpful skill to have going into college.
For sure. Thank you. Stella?
Um, I know it was said earlier, but speaking with teachers, being able to reach out and understand the dynamic that is there, that of a teacher and a student, and understand both what they can help you with and what they at times have a responsibility to help you with. That can help make it more comfortable with like, I know that you are in some ways obligated to help me with this or to grant me advice if I reach out and stuff like that. And that can make it a bit easier to get help that can be really useful at times.
Thank you, everyone. And our last question.
Nope, not last question.
Not our last question, but it's super exciting anyway.
Our next question is what was having a roommate like for those of you who have or had a roommate experience, and what advice would you give to future college first years?
Or I would add like future, even if it's not college, like future living experiences if you end up living with a roommate for affordability.
Okay, this is a popular topic. Can we hear from Salem?
Yeah, so I've both had the college roommate thing and also have had like group living with the Quaker Fellowship. And I would say a key thing for that is communicating with your people you live with. In this fellowship, we try to have like weekly house meetings. And I really recommend doing that kind of thing because it gives you a time to talk about things as they may come up. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Stella?
I think it depends a lot on what roommate you have and how you interact with each other as people. Sometimes things click and sometimes things don't. But also I'd say, at least personally, understanding that you can often get by with very little. I had one roommate that brought a lot of stuff to college. And that same year I brought very little. Just some clothes and some toiletries can get you a far long way if you're willing to live like that. And depending on your college and what's like, dorms may not have all that much space. So um, being prepared to look at what you have and say, how much of this do I really need with me? Or if I want it with me, am I willing to give up the space for it and to haul it wherever you need to haul it to?
That is so important. Elias?
Yeah, I randomly chose a roommate when I went to Bard and ended up having a pretty good experience. But I would say for advice, just go in with kind of little to no expectation about anything of how this person is going to treat you, and just think about how you're going to treat them. And yeah, open communication is I think the most important thing, open communication about anything that could ever be a problem. And yeah, I went in with zero expectations and ended up being pretty good friends with my roommate, but that doesn't always happen, and I don't think you should expect that to happen.
Okay, open communication, low expectations. Desmond?
Yeah, make sure you have a clear allocation of chores. My housemates and I, when I'm living with like a few different people, and we discussed like week 2, okay, who's gonna do what? We have a kitchen space, we have a few bathrooms. Who wants what job? And are we gonna switch it every week, or are we just gonna give you a job and you're gonna have it for the whole of the semester? So that was really helpful to it. Also, understand that your roommate has their own life. I've been friends with most of my roommates, but sometimes like they've had stuff going on and that's made them like kind of standoffish. And I've been like, is that my fault? Did I do something wrong? And I ask and they're like, nope, I'm just going through it. It's like, cool, okay, we're not like best friends outside of this, so gotcha.
Solid advice, thank you. Lucas?
Yeah, I just think one really important thing that's been working for me and my roommate, I have a great roommate, by the way, but like honestly, just like setting times and spaces for maybe like you to have alone time or like your roommate to have alone time in the room. Like that's a great like system to have, and I definitely recommend it.
For sure. And Elise?
So I've had an interesting experience so far. Initially, the college like sent me a survey, and I was just assigned with a random roommate based on the questions that I answered. Um, and I got a roommate. We got along well, but we didn't really be friends. Um, like we cohabitated very well, but like we didn't talk to each other. We maybe said a sentence every 3 hours to each other, and we didn't really talk outside of the dorm, and that was fine. We got along well. We both enjoyed the space. We Our RAs had sent us like a survey being like, hey, make your rules, set up these chores. How do you want to do things? Get to know each other, have like a clear lines that you can reference back to later if you have issues with each other. But then I've actually changed roommates 3 months in, because there was mold near us in the dorm. One of my neighbors tested and there was mold. So I moved out, and I moved in with the neighbor that actually had moved out, because we became friends because we were neighbors. And we moved into a different dorm, and we've been getting along great. And yeah, that like just clearly communicate. If you have something, talk about it. Don't let it fester.
Was that a mold joke? Because that was really clever. Yeah, okay, people are laughing. Next question.
Yep, it's in the chat and on the doc.
Our next question is, we have heard from alums in the past via a survey that they have encountered a wider variety of beliefs and political perspectives when they get out into the real world. What is your like perspectives on hearing more political and like different variety of beliefs outside of high school been?
Stella, go for it.
So I can't speak for every college out there because I've only spent prolonged time at one. But I would reckon most liberal arts colleges on those campuses, most people will be fine. You will still encounter people that you disagree with though, and people that maybe you disagree with very heavily. And I think in those cases, a lot of times it's really easy to just not run into the person. Most colleges are big. I'm not even at a particularly big college and it's big. And so if you're, not comfortable with, or you don't feel safe with interacting with the person, it's usually pretty possible to simply avoid them. If you have to interact though, it's important to remember most colleges have a legal obligation to you. They legally, have to process your reports. If you report something, they really have to, look at the situation and try and provide some sort of protection or compensation or whatever ends up being the situation. They can't legally allow things to happen to you without repercussions. But that doesn't always fix everything. And it's not like the end all be all solution. So, preach mindfulness when you can and keep yourself safe when you can't. But also remember that even if you don't feel particularly welcome in a space or particularly safe, a lot of institutions have legal obligations to you. And if you go to the right people and say the right things, they have to help you. That's not something that they can turn down. And if they do turn you down, you've got a hell of a lawsuit on your hands. So know that, depending on where you go, in most cases, there is a system to support you, even if the people don't want to enact that system super actively.
Thank you so much. Desmond?
Yeah, so I'd say this is like generally true. You're gonna get different perspectives in any direction. I'd say allow room for like questions in good faith. You don't have to, but like that's my advice, and don't try to change people. If you want to change someone's mind, offer your place and ask questions about theirs, and this will indicate that you're asking in good faith, that you're curious, and this will make someone more open to hearing you out.
Absolutely. And Salem?
Yeah, so outside of a college setting, I worked as a like door-to-door political canvasser for a period, and I encountered quite a few different political beliefs. And some advice that I would give, because okay, like Desmond said, like nobody is obligated to try and do like canvassing or like political cross-pollination work if they're not interested in doing that or if they don't feel safe doing that. But if you are interested in doing that kind of work, yeah, not telling the other person what you think they think, obviously, and presenting your thoughts and asking about theirs, and then trying to find points that you have in common with them, values that you hold, even if you don't use the same words usually, like finding words you can use to describe your values that will resonate with them, and then nudging forward from the stuff that you have in common. And I'd say like if you find really like contentious points, it's okay to discuss them a bit, but don't like linger on them or like chew on them really hard with somebody. But yeah, focusing on like where you like values you hold in common and nudging forward from there.
All right, thank you, panelists. We have our actual last question here.
Okay, for our closing questions, if you got to do a do-over, name one thing you wish that you had or hadn't done at Great River School.
We'd love to hear from as many people as we can on this one.
You can start with Lucas.
There he is. We can start with Lucas.
I honestly think I would have done like more theater at Great River, if I'm gonna be honest. But I think otherwise I don't really regret my time, how I spent it.
Absolutely can agree with that one. Desmond?
There was an end of year thing where we were on a boat on a lake. I didn't do that, but I would have liked to, looking back. Also sat with more different people during lunch. I kind of struggled a bit with like reaching out to other people, but that's something I'm trying to be better about now, and I wish I'd done it more in high school.
Thank you. Stella?
I think this applies maybe a little bit more to like people who are in middle school or education currently, but I wish I had participated more or had more activities in relation to farming and animals and going outside. A lot of those classes, the ones I did take, were really fun, and they're opportunities that really start to dwindle once you get out of Great River. A lot of the main classes you will have whatever other form of education you go to, whether it be specialized or general, but being able to interact with animals or to some extent the theater program or the music program um, are more limited once you get out of Great River. And it's nice to take advantage of that when you have it.
Okay, Elise, go ahead.
I absolutely loved participating in theater, the arts. It was really fun running D&D club too. Just being able to do all of the opportunities, going on all of the key experiences. They were just really amazing times to look back on, and I wish I had just been able to like savor them more, or if I could just like do them again. They were just really great times and have made like key memories in my life. So just enjoying them, being in them, not like brushing them off as like, oh, I have to go do this thing. Like even the bike trip, I look back at it and I was like, I'm really proud of myself for that. I made good memories on there. So there's nothing that I wish I had or hadn't done, but just enjoying it even more.
Absolutely. Salem, go ahead.
So my answer is kind of related to graduating in 2020, but it took me longer than I would have liked to realize that if I wanted to be involved in a bunch of like activities outside of school, that like one way to make that happen is planning those activities. So like if I wish that I had had movie nights with my friends, and like the simplest answer to that is like plan a movie night with your friends. Yeah.
Thank you. Elias, go ahead.
I would have brought a camera on my key experiences because your friend is going to have a camera, but you should have a camera.
Okay, thank you. Allie, do you wish to answer this question?
Sure. Trying to think. Just probably branched out more. I mean, I had a few friends here and there when I was at JRS, but as I got older, those friendships started to change as I got older and friends got older. But yeah, going based off of what everyone else is saying, I wish I had done more theater. Probably stuff more with music, with the choir, but I did enjoy my time. I mean, as one of the original founders of the school, so to speak. Um, I don't know, just I enjoyed my time and I wish I could have had a lot more time than I did.
All right, panelists, thank you so much for being here today. We wish you luck with all of your adventures. We're pretty much wrapped. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, advisories. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Had a lovely time.
Your new goat barn is really cool. I got to see it this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.